How you feeling? You got John Riggs here, and I think the TurboGrafx-16 has a lot to offer. It has its hit and misses, like, oh, there's a Darkwing Duck game, but then you play it and it's not that great. Oh, there's a Tailspin game? Awesome! I think. Well, I mean, there's a game called Yo Bro. Alright. Well, in this video, I want to showcase 15 games for the TurboGrafx-16. These are US releases that I think that are worth checking out. Gonna start off with the very awesome game Bloody Wolf. No way would there ever be a Nintendo game called Bloody Wolf. It's very POW-like, but it just has that extra bit of grittiness that you couldn't get from like other consoles. I mean, you actually see blood and stuff like that. That didn't exist on Nintendo, really. You can tell just by looking, just kind of fight your way through the enemy fortress, kill the bad guys. You can pick up new weapons along the way and even pick up a motorcycle, which I thought was super cool. Kill the bad guys, save the hostages, defeat the bosses, move on. That's kind of like Bloody Wolf for you. Definitely worth checking out. Now, the legendary axe should have been the Pacland as far as I'm concerned. However, this game, it's so awesome. I mean, it's actually really, really good, I think, especially for its time. It plays a little bit like Rastan in a way. You just kind of have to move your way through. You got your legendary axe. I loved some of the elements like this giant spider, like the more you attack it, like legs fall off. I thought that was super cool. I also liked, especially for its time, where you couldn't just keep hitting the axe button over and over and over again. You actually had to like build it back up to strength, a lot like how Secret of Mana did later. Legendary Axes is one of those classic launch titles, staple game for the TurboGrafx-16, definitely worth checking out. And if you loved the Legendary Axe, you'll be happy to know that they made a Legendary Axe 2. Unfortunately, it looks like this. It's like you're shiny or something, and doesn't even play the same. Like, it's a completely different game, only, you know, they just put the name The Legendary Axe on it, I guess. I mean, you don't even start with an axe. I mean, there's that. You start with a sword, and then other weapons later on are, again, not axes. I mean, the game's not terrible, is what it comes down to, but it should have been called literally anything else. It did not need to be The Legendary Axe 2. Maybe they're just trying to capitalize on it. I'm a huge fan of video pinball, and Devil's Crush is one of the best ones out there for any console. And again, you wouldn't see this on Nintendo, not with the word devil right in the title. Has 3 stages of pinball, as you can move your pinball up the stages. Each one has its own thing going on, and there's even kind of, not really a boss battle, but there's like, you fight enemies in a way around what's not totally supposed to be a pentagram or anything, but you know, you get the idea with Devil's Crush. And what intrigued me was this creepy face in the middle of it. And the more you hit things around it, the more the face becomes creepier and creepier. If you're into video pinball like I am, Devil's Crush is definitely right up your alley. And along with Devil's Crush, we also had Alien Crush. Now, Alien Crush, admittedly, I think plays better than Devil's Crush. I might like Devil's Crush a little bit more, just because of the themes, I suppose. But this one's still super, super, super cool, and definitely worth checking out as well. I mean, it plays almost identical, and it still has other things that you can hit along the way. You know, it makes it a little bit more interesting, I suppose. But yeah, perfect combo. Devil's Crush, Alien's Crush. Man, if this was happening today, we would have had like a zombie crush, or maybe a unicorn crush, I don't know. Ooh, a game by Atlas, sweet. The game is called Summer Assault. It is a very, very unique puzzle shooter. I'm not exactly sure what to call it. Now, the game uses like Zodiac or something or other. Like, even when you type in your name, it asks for your birthday. But this is what the game plays like. You play as like this weird slinky type character, I guess. But it has gun turrets on it. So depending on where you're positioned, that's where you fire. And you just kind of grab onto the floors or the walls or the ceiling and move your way through the level as this weird thing. I mean, it even has boss battles and everything. I mean, it's Summer Assault, and it's from Atlas, and I mean, it's really, really, really unique and very good. It's one of those games that nobody's talking about. Shockman is the game that's going to be the most like Mega Man on this system. You don't really get your weapon upgrades like you do in Mega Man, but the tight controls, the run and gun style, it's all Mega Man, and you'll find that in Shockman, conveniently enough. I mean, horizontal platformer, it can move up in stages sometimes. It's neat. Sometimes some of these jumps are like ridiculous. Like how can you just can't avoid the fire sometimes, it seems like. It's a fun one though. I like Shockman quite a bit. Now, Tiger Road was a game I played a lot of in the late 80s in the arcade, and they never made it for NES, they never made it for the Sega Genesis, but we had it for the TurboGrafx-16, so super happy that came out, and it's, to me, back then, I felt it was like arcade perfect. Now, is it arcade perfect? Well, I'd have to play them side by side today, but man, back then, it was I loved it, man. I couldn't get enough of it. My biggest gripe about this game is you can jump up through the platforms, but you can't jump back down through the platforms. So you actually have to drop down the platforms, which is very annoying if you ever get lost. But super fun game, though. You can get your weapon upgrades and everything. Love this game. Didn't really see a whole lot of Capcom games on the TurboGrafx-16, and this is one of them, though. So happy this made the list. Silent Debuggers is a game, like when I saw the picture on the back of the box of like what the game looks like, it's a game that I'm not really a huge fan of, I'll be honest, straight up front. I saw it and I was just like, it's not really for me. But the more I played it, the more I really enjoyed it. It's that first-person maze-type game. You're in this spaceship, this alien ship or whatever, and you have to fight the aliens. And when they come up at you, then you just gotta blast them out of the way or run and dodge and move somewhere else. You do have a little command center that has your map and has, like, objectives in the game and all that, but Silent Debuggers is another one of those kind of staple TurboGrafx-16 games that, if you have a TurboGrafx-16, I mean, you may as well have this too. Keith Courage in Alpha Zones is the Pacland game because I'm pretty sure they didn't think anybody would buy it. I don't know how true that is. But this was a game that came packed with the TurboGrafx-16. However, if you buy one now, you might not find one. But you can find them cheap whenever you do find Keith Courage games out in the wild. It's an interesting, unique kind of title. It starts out in a town. Every stage does. It starts out in the town. You can talk to people. You can get your weapon upgrades, use your money to buy stuff. It still has platforming elements and enemies, so you gotta watch out for those all the same. And the second half of the stage is you're this mech with this giant sword, and you work your way through the dungeon. Now, very monotonous almost, because you really only go the same way. As far as these dungeons go, you just keep dropping down, go to the other side of the screen, drop down, go to the left, drop down, go to the right, drop down. Eventually you will run into a boss, you have your boss battle, and then you move on to the next stage. It's a game based on an anime that we never got in the United States of America, and another one of those did you know is they made a sequel to it, but the sequel only came out for the Famicom and plays completely different. But it's another one of those. You got a TurboGrafx-16, man, you gotta have Keith Courage in Alpha Zones. Assuming you're completely new to the TurboGrafx-16, you gotta go with Bonks Adventure. It is the staple game. It would have been the Pac-Land. It was like the mascot character, only it came out later on. You play as a prehistoric character with a giant head, and that head is your weapon. You can headbutt enemies, just bonk them, I suppose, or you can jump up in the air and come crashing down head first. The music's fun, the levels are creative, it's just a fun idea for a game and has that kind of prehistoric theme to it, so gotta love Bonks Adventure for sure. I mean, it's one of those games, seriously, you'll probably beat it the very first time you play it if you play it straight through, but it's still worth a playthrough, and it's just super fun. I love Bonks Adventure, still play it today. Love the giant, fun-looking bosses, too. That was always one of my favorite features about Bonks Adventure. And good news, if you loved Bonks Adventure, you'll have Bonks Revenge. That's the sequel. Plays the same. Still have to attack the enemies. Still have to get your fruit and stuff. The meat, of course, turns you crazy and stronger. The difference between this game and the last game, though, is when you're at your peak meat mode or whatever, you can also breathe fire, which will come in handy. Now, there is a Bonk 3, but it came out for the TurboGrafx CD, and TurboGrafx CD will be another video for another time. But we did get Zonk, which is Bonk, at least the character or the story or the something, but as a shooter, which is unique enough. And I know it's weird, TurboGrafx-16 is notorious for how many shooters they have on their system. And this is the first one on this list, but we'll have more later on for sure. It plays like a typical shooter. You fly through, you can shoot the enemies down. You can charge up your shot and shoot it, and I like that because once you charge up your shot, if it hits someone, then it turns into like multiple bullets behind them. I thought that was a good idea, and it's fun to have too. You got your colorful aspect of the Bonks Adventure series and a great shooter that the TurboGrafx-16 is known for, so you can't go wrong. Now, until you start looking up the price on eBay, then that's where you can go wrong. Oh my goodness. Now, I've got a lot of love for Pac Land. Unique arcade controls where the 1 and 2 buttons move you left and right. You just keep tapping them, and that's when you move, and then the other button is your jump. However, on the TurboGrafx-16, you can change that if you'd like. So your left and right on the D-pad is to move left and right, which is how I've always played this game. It's certainly inspired by the cartoon. It's the same cartoon song that plays throughout the entire game for the most part. The ghosts are interesting enough. You can actually stand on them and stuff like that. You can't hit them. You can't run into them. That will kill you. But you can like jump on their head and move somewhere else. You have to keep moving because Sue, the woman ghost, the lady ghost, is always right behind you. So if you stall too long, she'll come get you. And of course, because it's Pac-Man, they do have the power pellets, which will make the ghosts be edible, so you can clear your path easier. Again, those cartoon graphics and the sound and everything, it's worth a playthrough. It's just fun. And I know I left a ton of games off this list, so make sure you let me know what I missed, because we will be doing a part 2 as well as a PC Engine version. We'll talk about some of the TurboGrafx-16 imports in another video later on as well. In the meantime, check out a whole lot more games that you must play for various systems, and I thank you for watching. Consider subscribing and consider being a Patreon, and I will see you very soon.